Today on Commander Replay, we check out a GoFundMe submitted teamer list called Surrak Bear Puncher. Can Surrak punch its way to victory? Find out next on Commander Replay. I want to thank my awesome Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. If you want to help support the channel and vote on which decks I play next, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below. Also, be sure to use the TCG affiliate link in the description below when buying new cards because it helps support the channel and it doesn't cost you anything. Welcome back, everyone. Playing some Surrak Dragonclaw today. Take a look at this opening hand. 2 lands, no mana ramp. This deck has a lot of it. I think this is a mulligan. I'm gonna mulligan that guy. Still 2 lands, no ramp, 1 color. Go to 6. All right, we're at 6. Guess we're keeping this. What do we get rid of? What's this thing do? Yeah, get rid of that. Hope we draw into a land or 2. We really need to get this Selkie into play and start drawing things with it. Whew, there's a land. Okay, so we'll play the tap land. Alright, this game's not over yet. Anyway, today's deck list comes to us from Henry, a GoFundMe donor, and this deck actually comes with an interesting backstory. And so Henry calls this deck Bear Puncher. And the backstory behind this deck is that Henry had moved to a new town and had started going to a new shop, and this new shop was much more cutthroat than his old shop, so it forced him to have to build stronger decks, but he was working on a pretty tight budget, so before that he was just kind of playing go big ramp decks, and that just plainly wasn't working in a meta full of board wipes and counter spells. So this is the deck that he came up with. So it's sort of like a budget answer to heavy interaction decks. So the commander says creatures can't be countered, and it still allows you to ramp big things into play, but gets around a lot of counter spells and instant speed removal and stuff like that. So pretty interesting little concept. Brings it back to our turn. We see an expedition map coming down for the Haunt of High Tower opponent. Drawn to an Amanatu's Augury. Probably didn't want that one just yet, being that it's 8 mana. Gonna be a ways before we can cast that. So let us play this for us. Play the Cryptolith right. Wouldn't mind seeing a land off the top for next turn. But yes, this is his response to a meta full of counter spells and still wanting to play a ramp deck. That being the case, Surrak seems like a great choice. It's a pretty powerful commander. The flash and can't be countered abilities are pretty awesome, and the trample also makes everything hit really hard. So yeah, pretty sweet commander. I've been run over by Surrak a number of times. It's always kind of unassuming. Like, I always look at it and I'm like, oh, it's probably just a creature deck. And then you die in like 5 or 6 turns, and that's generally been my experience playing against Surrak, so we'll see what happens today. There's a Baleful Strix coming down for our opponent, sure. And the Aurelia opponent plays an Open the Armory, gets themselves a Sword of the Animist, a card worth hull breaching. We get 1,000 wins. Well, looks like we are playing this Anox Survivalist because we need to get a creature in so we can start tapping things for mana. One card was not easily available online, which was Rhythmic Water Vortex, so I substituted that for a land, brought the land count up to 36. Still doesn't seem to be helping us all that much, though. Would not mind seeing 37 lands out of this deck. Also, I need to point out, this is the very first time I've played a teamer deck on the channel. I had one teamer deck in paper. It was a Riku deck a long, long time ago, but it's since been pulled apart. So, teamer is the one color set that I have not played on this channel at all in the last almost 3 years now. Teamer has some really interesting commanders also. I looked at the list of Teamer commanders not that long ago, and I think there's like 5 or 6 of them, and 4 of them are really strong. And maybe it's just the fact that there are really powerful things to do in Teamer, but, you know, give or take 4 of the Teamer commanders I see, I lose to most of the times that I see them. So, definitely some powerful things to be doing in green, blue, red, so yeah. So we see a Trepanation Blade coming down for Haunt of High Tower. There's a spicy one. Love the art on that card. I just wish it did more. Wish it was like 2 and 2 for the cast and equip. 3 and 2 competes with all the swords of X and Y, which is not great. So I really just wish that was a teeny bit cheaper, but such an awesome piece of art. Such a cool card, and it's something I've experimented with in Aurelia, but it's a bit unreliable, and now for the same cost, you just play like Blackblade Reforged or something. So yeah. Have used this card in draft, though. It does find a home in some decks in a Strahd draft. Anyway, that brings us back to our turn. We draw a Karametra's Acolyte. That'll probably be good at some point. Let's get this Cold Eye Selkie into play. I would love to start doing some card draw with this thing. Next turn, we can hopefully go, like, hit someone, draw a card, play a land, get Karametra's Acolyte into play. That would be pretty sweet. Interesting too, part of the concept of this deck, you'll see this morph creature right here, 1000 Winds. Decent ability on there. When it's turned face up, return all other tapped creatures to their owner's hand. Not bad, we might be able to make use of that. But morph creatures can't be countered. I did not know that. When you play it face down, it doesn't use the stack, so it just comes into play, which means it can't be countered. So that's another interesting way around a heavy counterspell meta. So some things I had never thought of before, pretty interesting in this deck. Here comes a Dowsing Dagger for opponent, and they tutor up a Sword of Fire and Ice. So we'll take a look at what our opponents are playing today. First up, we have Champion of Thune piloting Aurelia the War Leader, and this is their take on the Weapons of War build. So we've seen a handful of equipments in their hand already, one in play, and they've already exceeded the amount of artifact and enchantment removal we have in hand. So, well, I guess we have an Eternal Witness. We might have to go like Hull Breach, Eternal Witness, get Hull Breach back and shoot more stuff. Maybe a thing that happens. We will see. Baleful Strix is a fantastic blocker against Aurelia, at least until Fire and Ice comes down. Anyway, I'm super nervous about this Aurelia opponent that I'm going to get run over by my own creation again. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully we find the things we need to not just get decimated by Aurelia this time. Next up, we have Kithron piloting the Haunt of Hightower. Haunt of Hightower is another pretty powerful commander, does a lot of things. Mono black commander with lifelink staple to it is a really good place to be. It also just gets huge when basically like most game actions happen, beside the fact that it makes opponents discard, so Haunt of Hightower, pretty strong. And then finally we have Maru Powell piloting Alela, Artful Provocateur. This is a new one out of Eldraine, and I think it's in the Brawl deck. I'm not 100% sure, but it's 1 in Esper for a 2/3 flying Death Touch lifelink. A lot of abilities right there. Also blocks Aurelia without a Fire and Ice on it. Other creatures you control with flying get +1/+0. Whenever you cast an artifact or enchantment spell, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. Interesting card. I looked at this one just a little bit, and you see the flying text, you think flying tribal, but then you see the artifact and enchantment clause, you're like, spam artifacts and enchantments and make flyers that way. I don't know exactly how you go with it, but I know that there's a lot of abilities to work with right there, and getting yourself free creatures for playing other cards is pretty good. It's pretty good. We've seen something similar with Kaikar, Wind's Fury, and that deck can do some things, so we'll want to be careful with the if they start spamming artifacts and just loading the board up with flying creatures. It's going to make it really hard to attack. So anyway, all that brings us back to our turn, finally catching a land. Catching a little break right there. Anyone have islands? This thing has island walk. No islands. Hopefully no lightning bolts out of the Aurelia player. I don't personally run lightning bolt, so hopefully they are not running lightning bolt as well. They are running Pyroblast. Kidding me? Yeah, we needed that. We really needed that. Here comes a Swiftblade Vindicator. Yep. Opponent gonna equip the Swiftblade Vindicator. Yep. Really want to shoot that Dowsing Dagger because it does make a lot of mana, but we know that they got Fire and Ice and Sword of the Animist in hand, and those are going to be higher priority targets. Opponent's going to crack a Myriad Landscape. Sure, doing it on their upkeep. Kind of strange. Alela coming into play for our opponent. Yeah, can put some boots on it. Sure. Let's give the Zamanatu's Augury the old read. I think we're actually going to have a reasonable amount of mana this turn. Ooh, that's a command tower. Oh, that's helpful. Now we've got all the colors of mana that we need. How much mana is this making? This will give us 3. That'll be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 mana. We could cast this thing if we wanted to. Let's find out what it does. So exile the top 8 cards of our library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield. I like the sound of that. Until end of turn, for each non-land card type, you may cast that card type from among those exiled cards without paying its mana cost. Well, everyone's tapped out right now, so I think that's what we're doing. We need some card advantage pretty badly, so I think this is where we're going. So we can put a land in. There's an Evolving Wilds. I was kind of hoping on... I guess it's not that big of a deal, but... And now we can cast all these things. Sweet. So what do we get? We got a Gyre Sage. We've got a Metamorphic Alteration. Enchant creature enters the battlefield. Choose a creature. Enchanted creature is a copy of the chosen creature. Oh, that's interesting. Enchanted creature is a copy... So it wouldn't cause an ETB to happen again. There's a Progenitor Mimic. That one's interesting. Enters the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it has, at the beginning, it make a second one. Alela is really interesting because it blocks Aurelia without the Fire and Ice, and I think that's a thing that I kind of like. It's legendary, though, so maybe that's not the best. Maybe Baleful Strix, honestly. Just copy, because we need card draw pretty badly, so that may be a thing. Okay, so there's a sorcery. There's an instant. There's a creature. There's an enchantment. And there's a creature. So I think the creature is going to be Progenitor Mimic. That seems like a good plan. Cast the Progenitor Mimic. Gonna copy the Baleful Strix. And we'll get ourselves a card draw. It's a land. Got our next land drop set up. Now that leaves us with enchantment. Bounty of Lux is pretty good, honestly. It leaves us with creatures. It leaves us with sorcery and an instant. Signal the clans. Search your library of 3 creature cards. Reveal them. If you reveal them with different names, choose one of them at random. Put that card into your hand. Shuffle the rest into the library. And let's see. Looks like only one sorcery, so it's going to be the Verdant Confluence. We can pump creature up. We can return target permanent card from our graveyard to our hand. I think we'll do that. We'll get that Selkie back. And I think we're going to go for 2 lands. That seems like the play, right? So we'll get the Selkie back. Get ourselves 2 lands. Let's get a mountain and an island. Get ourselves some ramp going. That was... Man, Amanatu's Augury. Pretty good. Pretty good. And then we've got enchantments left. We've got Bounty of Luxa and the Metamorphic Alteration. Metamorphic doesn't seem like it's doing that much for me right now. I really like what Bounty of Luxa can do, so we'll cast that one. Give this the old read once again. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, remove all flood counters from it. If no counters were removed this way, put a flood counter on it, draw a card, and add colorless green-blue. Yeah, that's a lot of mana. That is a lot of mana. And then finally, we'll cast the Signal the Clans. We've got Karamitra's Acolyte. Probably want things that untap creatures. Seems like maybe a good idea. Walking Ballista is part of an infinite combo. That's a payoff. We'll check that out. Maybe we'll grab Tishana just because it's good. And do we need Prime Speaker yet? I don't think we need Prime Speaker yet. Retachroma has protection from white. That seems pretty relevant. So I think I'm going to grab this Retachroma. We end up with the Walking Ballista. Now, unfortunately, the one thing we can't do is shoot the Sword of Fire and Ice at instant speed. And as great as Hull Breach is, that may be a place for improvement. Having instant speed removal right there would be a lot better for us. I think we've done most of the things that we can do. I guess we can crack this. We can crack this land right here. Get ourselves a green, I guess. And pass turn like that. Pretty good turn. Pretty good turn with that Amanatu's Augury. Nice. Opponent does not catch their 4th land, so they're going for Sword of the Animist right here, and not for Fire and Ice. Gonna equip the Sword of the Animist. Yep. Coming our way, of course. Of course. Yeah, no blocks. Double strike, trample. The Baleful Strix is not going to do much in the face of that. Opponent gets a Lost Veil. Yep. Hopefully, I hope they play the Fire and Ice right here, because I'm totally going to shoot it if they do. Oh, they don't. They hold it back. It makes me sad. One thing we could do, we could play Walking Ballista as kind of a removal play against the Vindicator, so they can't just go Sword on their next turn. We should also check their mana. That's 5, 6, 7, 8. If they play a land next turn, they'll be on 9 mana, that's too short of casting Sword and equipping with Aurelia. Here comes a Sangromancer for the Haunt of Hightower opponent. Yeah, that card gains a ton of life. That's a thing that I'd love to get rid of because I know what it can do. Especially this early into a game. No board wipes have been cast yet. Oh, there's a Siphon Mind. All right. So opponent's going to start the life gain already. We're going to discard the land right here. Reasonable chance that we can draw our way into another one. As long as this Baleful Strix sticks around, we should get another one of those and give us an additional card draw. So 2 chances to draw land. Plus, we've got Bounty of Luxa. Gives us some extra mana as well. So we should be able to do some things I'm pretty excited about. I think we basically just need Umbra Mantle, and Walking Ballista Umbra Mantle Karamitras wins the game. Not sure how to find it. May just need to get lucky, but are there any creatures that go infinite with Karamitra? Need like a thing that would allow us... No, but I bet Freed from the Real does. Okay, Freed from the Real would also give us infinite colorless, right? No, because it has to be blue to untap, and it makes green. Okay, that wouldn't go infinite, I don't believe. Ooh, opponents can lay a Path to Exile on the Sangromancer. Yeah, they don't want any part of that. They're up to 47 already, so... Yep. I mean, you know, at that point, all it takes is someone to lay down a board wipe, and they gain, like, 50 life. Opponent going to send a Baleful Strix our way. Yep, we're just going to take that. And then the Alela over to the Haunt of Hightower. No blocks. Also, they lay down a Bident of Thassa, so they're going to get some card draw right here. Yeah, card draw is cool. This 1,000 Winds, I'm noticing maybe a little bit less effective against Aurelia in this moment. This creature has Vigilance. Aurelia also has Vigilance, so neither of them will tap when they attack, which is maybe a little bit frustrating. Opponent gets themselves a Fairy. It's going to bring it back to our turn. Baleful Strix Progenitor Mimic trigger will happen, so we'll get an extra Baleful Strix. We get to draw a card. Ooh, it's an Edric. Edric's pretty good. Here's a Soul Ring. It's like a land, right? And we get our Bounty of Luxa counter. And we draw another card. Sweet. There's a Reliquary Tower. Awesome. We're going to be needing that. Play the Reliquary Tower. Play the Soul Ring. The thing with Edric is that it gives the Boros deck more card draw, and they've got a double striker in play, which makes me not, like, the most happy. At some point, we probably want to get Walking Ballista in for at least X2, so that way we can shoot the Vindicator if they go to equip. So let's do all of that. All right, we're going to Hull Breach on the Sword of the Animist. Ooh, we can double Hull Breach for the Bindant of Thassa also. Shoot the Sword of the Animist. Oh, it's got hexproof. Never mind. Never mind. So Hull Breach on Sword of the Animist. Is it Teferi's Protection? Opponent's going to shoot our Cryptolith right. Okay. Let's make some mana then. So then a Generous Gift on the Cryptolith right. Sword of the Animist down. That means we can actually go X1. Well, we should probably go X2 on the Walking Ballista still anyway, but we should have tapped Karamitras in response. Whoops. We technically only have to, like, we'd only lose 1 mana by playing the Selkie, so I think we should do that. Play the Selkie. So now we've got 5 Devotion. Yeah, that seems pretty good. That would bring us up to 6 mana. Let's get Edric into play. Our Devotion is 6. And maybe we just tap out and put 4 counters on the Walking Ballista. That seems like the plan, I think. I suppose if we tapped better, we may have been able to get our commander in, but whoops. Actually, before we do that, we should attack and draw our cards, because that makes sense, right? So let's go to combat. Swing with the Baleful Strix into the Aurelia opponent. So we'll hit, Edric will trigger, we'll get to draw a card. It's a mountain. Then, yep, tap up some mana, put 4 counters on Walking Ballista. The only thing I'm worried about right now is a board wipe from the mono black opponent. Well, I suppose Esper could have one as well, but Esper has a lot of good things going in play. I don't know that they'd want to wipe their own board, but Haunt of Hightower hasn't been like doing that much, and this seems like prime board wipe territory. Now, we have the Eternal Witness, so we can get some things back. I'm thinking if we had to do that, probably the Augury again, because that got us a lot of cards. Here comes that Sword of Fire and Ice. Yep. Good luck to you, sir, trying to equip that. Opponent's going to try to equip it. We will shoot the Vindicator for 1. So we fizzle the equip, and that's your worst nightmare as an Aurelia player, is going to equip something and getting the tempo blowouts when you try to equip. That stuff hurts. Here comes the Knight of the White Orchid. Yep. Opponent can try to equip again. Oh, hey, Vampire Tutor out of the Haunt of Hightower. That's not scary at all. How do we force them to shuffle? We already used our Verdant Confluence. Curious about how many more Eternal Witness type effects there are in the deck. So opponent resolves their tutor. Takes him a little while. Seems like it probably shouldn't have taken that long to just grab a board wipe. But Knight of the White Orchid trigger, and I'm pretty sure we have more lands than they do. Did they fail to find? Oh, they got the Mistveil Plains. Okay. So they went for Mistveil Plains. They could have, maybe it's because the board wipe was coming. Probably coming. Because of that. If you know a board wipe's coming, then it doesn't make sense to try and equip the sword, because everything's just going to die anyway. But next turn they will have Aurelia plus a sword mana, though. Dead of Winter, yup, everything going to go down right here. They've got about 8 lands. Yeah, everything's definitely going to die. Just shoot opponent in the face. So Dead of Winter will happen. We lose all our stuff, but honestly, I feel okay. We've generated a lot of value, and with the Eternal Witness, we can get some stuff back. I mean, obviously, it's not ideal. I'd prefer to have all of that stuff, but I think we can rebuild pretty quickly. And that was another thing that he talked about in the email, is that the deck has so many redundancies that it's able to rebuild very quickly. Plus, the value you generate makes it just makes it so it's easy to rebuild. So, yeah. Here comes the Haunt of the Hightower and Extort trigger. Opponent does not pay. Here comes Sir Conrad the Grim. Yup. See if the Esper players got any removal. Hopefully they do. If we can, we may want to get the 1,000 Winds in face down, although we're not going to have the 7 to flip it up, so. Board wipe? Ah, no, just recasting their commander. Although, their commander's got Death Touch, so that'll keep the Haunt of the Hightower away. Gonna bring it back to our turn. There's a Comet Storm. That is a infinite mana sink. We'll get the Bounty of Luxa thing going, so we should get some mana right here. And we do. Play the Mountain. Just make sure we have enough. It'll be 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, that's going to be enough for Amanatu's Augury. Let's go ahead and do that. Play Eternal Witness. Get Amanatu's Augury. Everyone's tapped out once again, so feel pretty good about this resolving. Get the Amanatu's Augury back. Cast the Amanatu's Augury. Get ourselves a bunch of things. So we get a land. I added a Misty Rainforest to the deck. We'll probably grab the Misty. Grab the Misty. That'll trigger the Haunt of the High Tower. Oh yeah, fetch lands against Haunt of the High Tower. Maybe not the best. And then we've got some other choices to make. Monastery Lore Master, what does this one do? Is turn face up. Return target non-creature, non-land card from your graveyard to your hand. I don't think we have a way to use that now, which is unfortunate. Jing Yangu. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. We can make a token. Yeah, that'll probably gain us life if opponent wants to attack it, so that might be a thing worth doing. Arcanus the Omnipotent. Draw more cards. I think that's probably going to be a pretty good choice. And a Dragon Throne of Tarkir. Yeah. Okay. So let's get the Planeswalker. Let's get Arcanus. And best of all, we can return it should more board wipes start flying. And then we'll get the Dragon Throne of Tarkir. We'll make a beast with Jing Yangu. Fully expect it's going to take a big hit in the air right here and not survive. And I think that's going to be it for our turn. I want to hold up the 4 on Arcanus just in case anyone wants to blow it up. And we should get an extra draw next turn off the Bounty of Luxa. That's the value in this deck. We are leading our opponents by value by a lot. We're at 61 cards. They're at 79, 77, and 82. We've just played a lot of things. So yeah, the one card that I couldn't find, I just added a Misty Rainforest in its spot. Get a little bit of extra lands going just because Magic Online can be unkind with the lands, as we saw in the beginning. Opponent's going to equip an Aurelia with a Fire and Ice. Yep. Probably a good time to shoot the Haunt of Hightower before it really gets out of hand. Also, shooting Crypt Ghast is probably not the worst idea. Also, Sir Conrad is a pretty good little card. We may have to take an Aurelia hit right here, though. No, okay. Going to go after the Esper opponent. Gets themselves a sword trigger. Where do they want to point it? Going to start with the Crypt Ghast. Yeah, that's a fine place to start. And Aurelia into the Haunt of Hightower. All right. So they can force Haunt of Hightower to block if they want, but in all likelihood they'll take the damage. See what they put the 2 damage trigger. It's not really anything worth shooting. There's an Eternal Witness, which is like fine. Could shoot the Planeswalker, I think. I think Sword can hit Planeswalkers. Yeah, any target. Now just gonna go to the face of the Haunt of Hightower opponent. Yeah, they did get a bunch of life. Sounds good to me. Forever Young. Put any number of target creature cards from your graveyard on top of your library, draw a card. It's going to be only the Crypt Ghast, so opponent really wants that Crypt Ghast. Yeah, Crypt Ghast's pretty good. So Crypt Ghast back to play. Yep. Whew. Opponent's still got 12 mana. 3 cards in hand, so they're at least running out of cards. But mana plus Sir Conrad seems maybe not great. Yeah, and then they're just going to pump it all into Sir Conrad. So we're going to get down to the milling. Each player puts a top card of their library into their graveyard, and whenever a creature is put into the graveyard from anywhere, it's going to do 1 damage to each player. Blind Obedience got milled from our opponent. That's a good one. Well, I guess that card shuts down Aurelia. Should Aurelia get blown up, it makes it really slow. But it's just a headache to play around. Cathar's Crusade getting milled. We lose. Tomorrow, Zombie's Familiar. You know, that one's kind of cool. We lose a land. Land's fine. Wouldn't mind that tomorrow. Basically says if you would draw a card, look at the top 3 instead, put 1 in the hand and the rest in the bottom. So anytime you would draw, you replace it by looking at 3 and choosing 1. So pretty cool little card. Opponent's going to equip the Trepanation Blade onto the Haunt of Hightower. Who wants the damage? That's the question. Oh, that's an Immortal Sun. Well, that'll shut down our Planeswalker. Yeah, Mono Black opponent. Got some stuff going on. Mono Black, pretty good deck archetype. It is a Homeward Path. We are playing blue. I mean, that could be relevant. I don't know how much steel stuff is in the deck, but opponent gonna swing our way with the Haunt of Hightower. Hopefully this thing doesn't get too big off the Trepanation Blade. Here comes the trigger. Oh, we're gonna have to discard a card. Looks like they hit 1. Okay. So here's the choices. Comet Storm is a finisher, but can also blow up a lot of things on board, which might be relevant. 1,000 Winds is a cool little tempo kind of play. Bounces everything, but is more selective. I think we'll stay with the Comet Storm. We do have a pretty good amount of mana, so we can shoot things with Comet Storm. Potentially things like this Haunt of Hightower. Probably blast the Crypt Ghast again. Getting rid of Sir Conrad may not be the worst idea. But we can also keep it up to see if, should we run into one of our combos. Having the Comet Storm around may be a pretty good idea. So Haunt of Hightower, luckily not getting too big. Only a 6/5, so it's going to be a hit. It's not going to feel good, but it's better than, taking a hit for 20. Our deck creator, by the way, pointed out that equipping Dragon Throne of Tarkir to Surrak is an instant flavor win, so if we get the opportunity to do that, we might. Don't know that we will, but Aqueous Form. Enchanted creature can't be blocked whenever it attacks. It scries. Okay, gonna put that on their commander, sure. And they'll get to make a fairy token. Opponent's gonna swing over to the Aurelia. They'll get the scry 1 time. With the Biden out, it's not terrible. Scry, then draw. Yeah, it can't be blocked, so they're good. They're good. If they hit, Bident of Thassa will trigger. Comes a Wayfarer's Bauble. Yeah, it seems good. It's gonna make a fairy token. It's gonna bring it back to our turn. We draw a Thespian stage. Let us go ahead and activate the Arcanus. Oh wait, does this thing take a turn off? Why didn't we get a Luxa counter right here? We got no mana and drew no cards. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure that worked. Thought it was, yeah, I don't know. I'm confused about what happened. I don't think that worked right. Anyway, draw some cards with our Arcanus. We draw a Planar Bridge. That's a pretty good card. Not really expecting removal against it. And we draw a set of Sanctuary. I was checking this one out before the game. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a red or green permanent, draw a card, then discard a card. If you control a red permanent and a green permanent, instead draw 2 cards, then discard a card. So, I don't know how much these go. I can't imagine they cost too much because I never see this card. But if you need like a budget Rhystic Study in a Teamer deck, it's not terrible. It's not terrible. How much mana do we have? I guess that's the first question. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, 13. We are 1 short of Planar Bridge and the activation. That makes me sad. Which means I'll probably just wait till next turn to do it because, yeah. Let's play the Thespian stage. I'm going to try to copy probably, well, I was thinking about copying the Inventor's Fair. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I'm not sure. Copying Lost Veil is not the worst idea. Get additional mana. I think we'll play the set of Sanctuary. Probably sit on our commander. Flash that down when we need to. And copy something with the Thespian stage is probably our game plan here. Do we copy our command? We'd be leaving 5 mana unused. But I guess we could leave up protection on Arcanus should another board wipe happen. We'd also be leaving up the Comet Storm, which seems like probably a pretty good idea. So, yeah, I think I like all of this. Aurelia is out with the Sword of Fire and Ice, so some things over here may be getting shot. I think I like all that. Okay, we have a plan. Pass the turn. Opponent's gonna Enlighten Tutor. This seems like a Sunforger situation. Have pretty mixed feelings about that. Now, I don't think our stuff's the first thing they're going after. Oh, it's a Helm of the Host situation. Oh. Ew. Huh. Apparently Conrad missed a trigger when Cryptghast left the graveyard. Talking to opponents, said they got removal for the Aurelia. Okay. Now we're going to be under constant threat of the Helm of the Host. Helm of the Host is one of the single biggest changes to that deck. It really changes how the deck plays because, you know, when you get behind in a game and you're like, oh man, I'm facing insurmountable odds now, there's always just some chance that you go Aurelia Helm or Godo Helm late in the game with, you know, not that much left. So it really took the power level of that deck up quite a bit, or at least the ceiling of it. And for a long time, I didn't actually run Helm of the Host because I'm not huge on I win buttons. You know, it wasn't until I really started playing in a more powerful meta where I started adding stuff like that. For the most part, I tend to enjoy games that aren't just I do the thing and I win. So, but yeah, I mean, it really increases the power ceiling on the Aurelia deck by a lot. Opponent tutors themselves in a Maria the Sky Ruin. Let's see what kind of creatures they got in the graveyard. They've got a Balan, they've got a Swiftblade Vindicator, a Knight of the White Orchid. Yeah, you know, those are decent options. Nothing crazy, no Sun Titans or anything, but... Question is, what do we get with Planar Bridge once it comes in? Retachroma can block Aurelia, and that's really important. At least without Fire and Ice on it, it could. So maybe that's a thing. Niv Mizzet is interesting since we have a decent amount of mana. We could do some card drawing. We really just need to get like stuff into play. Freed from the Real could be real interesting. Aurelia going to combat. Let's see where they're going. Into the mono black player. I'm down for that. Sword Trigger. Opponent's going to target our Arcanus. Okay. 2 damage on Arcanus. We will surely bounce Arcanus if opponent wants to do it again. And I think the way Sword is worded, it fizzles the trigger. I forget. I had some discussion about why the ability needs to resolve on Sword and it doesn't on most other things for that card draw to happen. Opponent going to swing our way on this one. Okay. Here's the Sword trigger. Bounce Arcanus. Now, unfortunately, that does mean without haste, we won't be able to use Arcanus right away. Check our commander. Gives our creatures trample and can't be countered, so does not give them haste. I missed it. I think that denied the card draw. I'll check the game log, see what it says. Yep, triggered ability from Sword of Fire and Ice is removed from the stack because no legal targets. Yeah, I got into a long discussion about why the damage needs to resolve on Sword of Fire and Ice for that card draw to work. I forget. It is some really complicated rules about the way text occurs. Inspiring Statuary coming down for our opponent. That's an interesting one that I've messed around with a little bit. It can do some interesting things, but there are a lot of artifacts in the deck, and it doesn't help you with the artifacts at all, but it does help you cast other things. Like if Aurelia dies 2 or 3 times, you can use your equipments as mana, and gets Aurelia back into play much easier. So it's an interesting choice. It is, and it's one that, it's decent. It's definitely decent. There are situations where it can be very good. That's an Indomitable Archangel. Count up the artifacts. They've got 1, looks like 2 artifacts. I don't think they have Metalcraft, so they are 1 short. Gonna put the Fire and Ice on the Indomitable Archangel, sure. I think we need to take another peek at the deck list. Check out some of these bigger things that are available. Tidespout, ooh, Tidespout Tyrant is really good. So if we get a cheap spell in hand and we get Tidespout Tyrant into play, we could just bounce Aurelia or bounce Sword, do things like that. That may be a thing to think about. Prime Speaker Zagana is good if we have a big creature. Niv-Mizzet is decent. Kamal is interesting. I don't know that that's where we're at right now. Elvish Aberration is mana. The Sphinx, draw a card, then put a counter on it. Seen worse things. Arcanus, 1,000 Winds. I get this card draw if we need more card draw. That's most of the cool big stuff. Opponent's going to activate the Arch and draw a card. Sure. Opponent's going to use the Sir Conrad ability. Yep. That doesn't appear to be triggering Haunt of Hightower the way that it's supposed to. Ooh, we lose our Tidespout Tyrant. That's a good one. Ouch. Yeah, Haunt of Hightower should be huge right now, because that's 3 cards going to the graveyard per. Okay, opponent going on the attack. They're going to send Cryptcast into us. Probably just throw the beast in front of it. This may be a board wipe play. Oh my! They just milled so many things from the Aurelia opponent. Oh, wow. Feast and Famine going down. Goblin Welder going down. That's how you get Feast and Famine back. Gisela, Naheb. That's some stuff. Haunt of Hightower's got 18 power. Yeah. And opponent left to discard a card. Ouch. Gonna block the Cryptcast right here. Oh, you want what we could do? Wow, Aurelia didn't block. Can we pump that Haunt of Hightower at all? Goes to 18 Commander. Wow. Alright, let's see what opponent's got in the second main phase. This really smells like a board wipe. Otherwise, there's no reason to attack with Haunt of Hightower. Or with Cryptcast. Okay, it's Mutilate. Yeah, this should get everything. Glad we blocked. Yep, everything down. Okay. Keeps opponent off Aurelia Helm for at least a little while. The tough choice we have right here is, do we cast our commander, or do we use Thespian Stage to copy a land and try to get some extra mana going? I feel like Planar Bridge is really where we want to be, although, I don't know, some of the options, like we don't have quite the breadth of options that I'd like to go for, especially with Tidespout Tyrant going down. I think I'm going to go for our commander because we have this Seta Sanctuary. It'll be much better with our commander in play. Gets us a little more card draw. Plus it gives us more options, like we can go for Prime Speaker Zagana if we need to, if nothing crazy happens over the next turn. Here comes an Aura of Silence. Ooh, that's going to be bad for our Planar Bridge plans. Does that change what we want to do? Also, that's a great way to shut off Helm of the Host. I think I'm still going to go for the commander. Just to have, we'll have a threat out there that's like, you know, kind of hasty. It's not actually haste, but pseudo haste with the flash ability. Nope, we need to crack our land first. Crack the Misty Rainforest. We're just going to go for an island here. I don't feel like losing any more life than we have to. Get an island. Cast our commander. Yeah, flash is so good in commander. Taking away the ability for your opponents to interact at sorcery speed is just massive. Apparently Bounty of Luxa just no longer works. Thought this is supposed to work continuously. We draw a Whisperer of the Wilds. Okay. Maybe not exactly what we were looking for. Also, Seta Sanctuary didn't trigger. Is there something in play that, like... Yeah, this game is really bugged. A lot of bugs in this game. Ouch. Well, it's gonna be rough. If we swing into Aurelia, they'll be at 5, and we could Comet Storm them if we need to. Seems like a reasonable plan. Play the Forest. Just wish we had, like, flying blockers. Maybe we don't. Maybe we go into the mono black player. I don't think we're the target at this moment in time. Let's get Whisperer of the Wilds into play. That's more mana. We are still just needing mana production like there's no tomorrow. Do we go for Arcanus? It significantly cuts down on the amount that we can Comet Storm for. Arcanus will be 6. 5, 6. That would leave us 6 mana. We can Comet Storm X4. Be exactly enough to stop an Aurelia. If we play Arcanus, Aurelia comes... Let's check their mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, they tap the sword. 12, yeah, they have enough to cast Aurelia, equip the sword, and hit somewhere. So, I think that means Planar Bridge. But Planar Bridge, with Aura of Silence out, Planar Bridge doesn't look good at all. Okay, we're going to sit on Comet Storm then. Here comes Aurelia back to play. Gonna equip the sword, yep. So Aurelia into the Haunt of Hightower. Haunt of Hightower, 15 commander. There's the sword trigger. Gonna shoot opponent in the face, yep. We can go X10 on the Comet Storm. Just one short of killing the Aurelia. Maybe a little bit unfortunate right there. Opponent goes to 20 commander damage. Another sword trigger. Gonna shoot our Whisperer of the Wilds, makes me sad. Opponent passes the turn. Haunt of Hightower's turn, let's see what they got. Immortal Sun is not drawing extra cards like it's supposed to be. Opponent's gonna Night's Whisper. Opponent's gonna draw a card with Arch of Oriska. Yeah. Toxic Deluge X6. Okay. That's life loss on our opponent. Puts him down to 28. Getting the life down just a little bit. Opponent can still cast Aurelia one more time and do the sword thing again. We should probably just let them do that. Here comes Haunt of Hightower. Okay, that gives opponent a blocker. Here comes a Foundry Inspector for our opponent, sure. I guess at the end step, we're just going to recast our commander again. And then we'll do some copying with the Thespian stage. Copy the Lost Veil. I feel like we need the mana right now. We draw out Tashana. Tashana is not particularly helpful when you have only one creature in play. Yep, none of our triggers still working. So apparently every on upkeep trigger is not working right now. So that is bad times. We would be drawing so many cards. What do we actually get with Planar Bridge? We probably get Prime Speaker Zagana. Yeah, I think that's the play. Opponent has removal. They could fire removal at our Surrak in response to Prime Speaker Zagana. What else can we get? Asceticism? Asceticism's decent. Ricksmithies is not the worst thing I've heard of at this point. Niv Mizzet, decent. Niv Mizzet doesn't get blown up by stuff. Maybe we go Arcanus and Tashana and just get a couple cards. That creates a couple things that need to get answered. Yeah, I think I like that. We'll swing into the Haunt of Hightower opponent. I wonder if Immortal Sun is the card causing all the problems. Seems like it'd be an easy card to cause bugs like this. So opponent takes a hit, goes down to 22. If Aurelia hits them and they die, maybe we just sit on Comet Storm. I think sitting on Comet Storm is probably the play right here. Because if Aurelia kills Haunt of Hightower, then we can kill Aurelia, and then it'll be just the Alela opponent, and potentially if they like recast their commander or something like that, we can shoot that too, get a nice little tempo play, and I think it'll be much easier to get all this stuff into play against one opponent instead of worrying about 3 other opponents worth of removal. So Ameria is on 3 planes, got a ways away. We blew up that Sword of the Animist early, and it's usually a pretty big play. They're going to crack a Myriad Landscape, though, so if they survive for a number of turns for any reason, then they'll be on 5 planes. Slowly getting there. I guess they could have Teferi's Protection, and that might be an issue. Ooh, Comeuppance could be an issue also. So we'll want to make sure that they tap out all their mana and do not have protection against certain things. Though we may have seen a Teferi's Protection. I guess, how much mana do they have last turn? I think they only had 2 mana left, but we may have seen a Teferi's Protection at some point if they had it, because of all the board wipes. Typically, you try to save your stuff whenever you can, so dodging a single board wipe can often be enough of a tempo play that just wins you the game, so, you know. Oh, that's an austere command. I wasn't counting on that. Going all enchantments and creatures and big creatures. Doesn't go for the artifacts. I wouldn't mind seeing that Immortal Sun go down. Unfortunately, we lose all of our really cool enchantments. Opponent's going to use the Aura of Silence to blow up the Sword of Fire and Ice. So, like, our enchantments aren't working, but I have some suspicion that when Immortal Sun goes down, they may start working. I guess that's a pretty big gamble, I guess. So I guess we sit on the Immortal Sun a little bit longer. Was hoping to see this Haunt of Hightower opponent go down, though. But the Aura of Silence is gone, so Planar Bridge actually looks pretty good once again. Opponent's 3 mana away from Aurelia and Helm all in the same turn. They could get there with a Mana Vault. Got to be careful with that. Some other combination of mana rocks and land. Haunt of Hightower back to play. Here comes a Sword of Light and Shadow. Sure. Would not be bad this late in the game. Everyone, this has been an attrition-based game. A lot of things really getting worn down right there. Opponent going to equip the Light and Shadow. Does not protect it from Comet Storm, so that's fine. I think the plan will probably, if an opponent tries to recast like Alela, then we'll try to Comet Storm then, I think. Opponent's going to Hero's Downfall on the Haunt of Hightower. Okay, that's one less thing we need to worry about. Or at least one less piece of removal. Down for that. Opponent going to draw with the Arch? Sure. Aethersworn Adjudicator. Fun card. And we're going to Comet Storm at the end step here. Let's go... Okay, shoot everything for 11. So this should take down Aurelia. It'll kill the Adjudicator. It'll reduce the life totals of Haunt of Hightower and Alela. So Aurelia down, and Haunt of Hightower down to 11 life. Unfortunately, we need some haste to really try to get in there while they're tapped out. Does Kamal help at all? Can make a couple lands into 1/1s. How much green do we actually have? Not enough green. Well, maybe. If we made these 2 lands... What if we made 3 lands? If we made 3 lands that are 1/1s, and then pumped 1 time, it'd get +3. That might be exactly enough. Or... Oh, I know. We could... How much... Does this save us any mana to do that? That would be 3 and 5. That would be 4 power, which gives us 1 more than the Kamal play. Yeah, maybe we could try that. Opponent said they had removal. Some risk of our lands getting blown up by doing this, but, you know, might be worth it. Oh, do we have enough green for all this? I don't know if we have enough green for all this. Let's try it. Let's see if we can make this work. So, use our non-forests. Oh, any land? Target land. Okay. Doesn't matter which land. So, Kamal into play. Let's start making some lands. I guess we'll use the Lost Veil. Whoop, 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 whoop. Oh, this may not kill them. This may not kill them. Yeah, okay, then we gotta equip the Dragon Throne. It is 2 to use the Dragon Throne. Oh, is that a tap ability? Tell me that's a tap... Oh, God, it's a tap ability. Well, punted that turn. That could have all gone so much better. We've got 1 floating. What do we do with it? I forgot it's a tap ability. Gross. Yep, that was all. Terrible, terrible waste. Next turn we can do a lot of damage, though. We'll chip away at the Haunt of Hightower opponent. The good thing about this, though, is that if Kamal survives, the lands are sort of protected from board wipes, so I like that. So, you know, it's a matter of whether they want to kill Kamal or not. One thing we could do, we could change a bunch of things into creatures and then play Tishana. Finally look at some extra cards. Here comes Haunt of Hightower back to play. Yep. Oh, there's some boots. Okay, okay. Does he equip the sword first? He does. Okay. Here comes the Trepanation Blade. Yep. And there's the boots. Hopefully... I mean, it's probably coming our way, but hopefully it doesn't get too big. Oh, that's a Grey Merchant. That's trouble. Yeah, that's the thing that I've been worried about. Oh, Grey Merchant doesn't trigger. Okay. Wow, so many bugs. That would have been 4 damage to us. Haunt of Hightower coming in our way. Yep, just like we thought. Trepanation Blade will trigger. Hopefully, there's not a lot of lands in this deck. A bunch of them are in play. Okay, they only get 2. We'll have to discard. What do we get? What are we discarding? Probably Arcanus. Arcanus is... I don't think we're going to have enough time to get it into play and untap with it. Without haste, it just... it's pretty underwhelming. No blocks. Ugh, opponent goes up to 17. That's still like a mountain to climb. Gains so much life this game. Light and Shadow triggers. Getting back the Shieldred. Luckily, they're tapped out. Problem now is that depending on what Alela has, like, they could just kind of swoop in and kill us, which wouldn't be amazing. Here comes Alela back to play. Yep. Oh, I wish Red Chroma had haste so badly. This would be perfect opportunity for that. There's Nib Mizzet. What does that do for us? I think we're better off on the lands attack like crazy plan. That's what I feel like anyway. Funny story. If we had a lot of mana, which we don't have enough to do this well, but we could turn things into lands and shoot them with Nib Mizzet. May not be a terrible idea on the Cabal Stronghold. But I think we're just going to... Opponent's at 20. Oh, man. In order to do this, let's say we turned 3 things into lands. Maybe we'd be better going like 4 things into lands. 4 things into creatures. So you'd have 4 4/4s. That's still 16. That's not enough. Oh, man. The life link is so bad. They'd have 8 more life if Grey Merchant worked the way it was supposed to. I mean, we got to take them down. There's just like there's no like second chances at this point, really. So start making things into creatures. They'll all get +4 when we use the Dragon Throne ability. Okay. I think this should be good. Go to combat. Everything into Haunt of Hightower. Activate Kamal. Oh, I should have did this the other way first. And give him +3/+3 and trample. This should do it. What I did not realize is that we left ourselves wide open to a hit. Well, we can... Ooh, and if opponent goes down, we can make a creature with Jing Yangu. That seems very relevant. So there's a bunch of 8/8s going into opponent. I think they're... Oh my god, I think they're going to survive. Oh, thank god. Oh, I thought I did the math wrong. Whew. Alright, Immortal Sun's finally gone, so make a token. Get ourselves a blocker. Very relevant at our low life total of 12. Burnish Heart for our opponent. I'm okay with that. That's fairly safe. We'll make them a flyer. Opponent does have an Academy Ruins. They can get some cool things back. They got the Judicator. It's a good card, but it's slow. Bident Thassa is solid. Solemn Simulacrum's a decent blocker. Opponent shoots our Kamal. I didn't see with what. Oh, Angelic Purge. Okay. I think we're on Niv Mizzet then. And Burnish Heart into play. Okay. Opponent gonna send their commander into the Jing Yangu. Okay. Finally get to use it one time, and now it's going down. Opponent does have flyers. We're not... yeah, Niv Mizzet's gonna be our best play because it is a flying blocker. There's a land. Lands are reasonable. Play the land. Get Niv Mizzet. Want to try to save as much blue and red mana as possible. It's going to be a little bit awkward with the Lost Veil right here. Here's a question. Does copying Academy Runes get us back anything that's incredibly relevant? There's a Walking Ballista. Walking Ballista without another piece. Dowsing Dagger is okay. It's all interesting. I guess we do it this way. So save the Soul Ring. Use the Lost Veil. That'll get us triple blue. Use that. Use 2 red. And we can shoot some stuff. Looks like we have 2 triggers that we can use with Niv Mizzet currently. Opponent can activate the Academy Runes on the upkeep, going for the Judicator. Yup. Ooh, Boots and Judicator seem bad. I don't think they have the mana. Okay. I think we've got a brief moment to deal with this. Yep, opponent gonna send their commander. Okay. We're just gonna take that because of the Death Touch. Hopefully the triggered ability on Niv Mizzet is working properly. We really need the card draw. We've missed... I counted about 6 or 7 cards that we should have drawn off of triggers that didn't occur. Oop, there's a Bident Thassa trigger for opponent. Here comes the Adjudicator. Yup. How are we going to deal with that? Redachroma's got Pro Blue is a thing. Also, yeah, I think Redachroma might be where we're at now. Opponent's going to put Boots on their commander. Interesting. Okay. Wants their commander to stick. Is there a Curiosity in the deck? Curiosity would be the one that we want. Go to the end step. Start shooting things with Niv Mizzet. Let's shoot the... Oh, there's a lot of stuff. These flyers are kind of worth shooting. Getting rid of the Burnish Heart isn't the worst idea ever either, since opponent's kind of handcuffed on mana. Go for the Burnished Heart, I guess. Oh, that's an Umbra Mantle. Can we shoot the Adjudicator? Think we can? Go triple blue. Adjudicator down. Let's get Planar Bridge in. Gonna be needing that. And we have 1 shot left on the Niv Mizzet. Opponent's going to Academy Ruins for the Bident Thassa. Okay. We can stop some of that. They'll get like 1 card draw, I think. So why is Bident Thassa working and like none of our stuff is? That's what I want to know. So opponent casts the Bident. They get another flyer. Send in the commander. Send in the 4/3. Send in the 2/1. Here we go. All right. Well, hope there's no tricks or anything on this Shine Chaser. Block the Shine Chaser. Shoot the 2/1. 2/1 down. Shine Chaser... Why did opponent... Opponent only hit us with 1 card, right? Why did they get 2 Bident triggers? I don't know what's going on this game. We go down to 8. Apparently our commander damage is combined. Oh, no, that was 14 from the Haunt of Hightower. Okay. Brings it back to our turn. There's a Journey for the Elixir. What's this do? Search your library and graveyard for a basic land card. Reveal a card named Jing Yangu. Reveal them. Ooh. We can bring Jing Yangu back. Okay, that's a thing. That's a thing. We've also got the 8 mana for Planar Bridge. We can get Redachroma. I think opponent will be fairly surprised to see Redachroma at this moment. Take 8 to do that. I think we're still staying put. That's a sorcery. There's blue and red. That's more blue and red. How much non-blue and red mana do we have? That's 2, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Okay. Opponent plays land. Go into combat. Sending their commander, just their commander. All right. Planar Bridge time. Activate the old Planar Bridge. Man, I haven't gotten to use Planar Bridge in so long. The format's gotten so fast that like only very specific decks can really take advantage of it. Let's get ourselves a Redachroma. I used to use it in the Angels deck, but things have just sped up so much that Planar Bridge isn't quite what it used to be. Now I kind of use Parhelion sometimes in that same spot, depending on how casual or hard I'm playing. Against harder matchups, I'll take Parhelion out just because it's kind of slow. But once it gets going, if you get an attack or two with it, it creates a lot of angels, does a lot of damage, and is so much fun. Litters the board with angel tokens. So we block with Retachroma, Alela down. Excellent. The old Planar Bridge into Retachroma play. Ooh, that's a Teshar. Okay. That's going to need to get shot. Opponent's going to try to put boots on it. Absolutely not. Shoot that. Teshar down. Try to put boots on the Foundry Inspector. Yeah, no, I don't really care for that either. Let's make some red mana. Start shooting things. Mana plus Niv Mizzet. Shoot things down. Yeah. We're lucky that it's not like a go big deck. If it was like a green deck with like 6/6s, then this probably wouldn't be as effective. Because it's a token-based deck. Not too bad. So shooting all that stuff down. They can try equipping to the token if they want. We don't have the mana to shoot it. Brings us back to our turn. There's an island. Play the island. I don't know if there's anything else like in our deck really worth getting. Ooh, we could get that thing that draws us cards. There's a commander there's a planeswalker that draws cards. I guess Tashana also draws cards at this point too. We could put Dragon Throne on something. Maybe put Dragon Throne on the Beast token. Swing with these two. Oh, we should have shot the thing. Whoops. Yeah, opponent will get a free block. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Then we'll activate the Thinger. Our creatures get much larger. We could Fire Breathe a Chroma, but I'd rather leave up the damage on Niv Mizzet. Opponent goes down to 18. Hey, we finally get to draw a card with Niv Mizzet. How about that? There's a Krosan Restorer. I would assume we have Threshold by this point. So we'll play that, and we'll pass the turn like that. Treasure Map for our opponent. Yep. Activate the Treasure Map. Scry one time. And we've got lethal unless they've got some sort of answer to what we're doing. Probably need to be a board wipe. Revel in Riches. Nice. Got the Treasure Map, Revel in Riches. Yeah, I guess that makes sense in that deck, right? Get all them artifacts. We'll go for the Planar Bridge right here, see what the coolest thing we can get is. As opposed to the shooting to the face. It's not every day you get to use Planar Bridge. Coolest thing we have is try the Sphinx. And this should do it. Send in everything. This should be enough. We don't have to activate. And it is... Oh, did the opponent just survive at 1? The opponent just survived at 1. Did I miscount? Maybe they gained a life off something? Okay, shoot them in the face for 1. Shoot him with the Niv Mizzet. Finally getting there. Long game. 18 turns. Many Magic Online bugs. That was a game. Okay, so bugs aside, putting all the bug stuff aside, I actually really like this deck. This deck did some really cool things. There was a play way, way back in the game where I definitely just way overcommitted into the board wipe from the mono black player. Like, I'm like, oh, I have all this stuff, play all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, wait a second, I'm facing a mono black deck. They probably already have the board wipe, and if they don't, they'll easily tutor for it, which they did. But even in spite of that, I thought we rebuilt that first time pretty well. After that, we had to take a few turns off. But by that point, everyone was kind of low on stuff. And then, like, all those card draw triggers stopped working. Opponent's Immortal Sun wasn't drawing them cards. Our Bounty of Luxo wasn't drawing cards or making mana. And, the blue one, what's it called? Set a Sanctuary there also never actually worked for us when it was supposed to. I estimated that we would have gotten about 6 or 7 additional cards off of Set a Sanctuary and Bounty of Luxa, and that would have been huge. We would have coughed a bunch more lands into play, especially when you're talking about these big X spells and stuff like that, where you can shoot more and more. Also, if we had some mana generator stick in play, I know we lost quite a bit. That would have also helped out with some of the X spells too. Anyway, so yeah, the deck's ability to just like produce mana and produce value is really good. One thing that I was actually worried about, and something that I'd probably still try to fix, is there are a lot of 6-drops in the deck. I would probably try to offload the 6 slot just a little bit. If you can move 1 or 2 cards either up to 7 mana or down to 5 mana, I think that's probably a great place to be. I know they mentioned they were on a budget, so let's talk about some changes that could be made to the deck. First up, I'd like to see more removal. I thought the deck was pretty removal light, and I'm surprised that actually didn't get to be a problem at any point. So first card I'm going to look at is just a card that I love. Is going to be Volcanic Offering. We saw a lot of problematic lands in that game. We had no real great ways to answer them. So in addition to the fact that this deck is also really light on 5 5 converted mana cost cards. Could probably use a few things in the 5 mana slot. So we're going to add Volcanic Offering. Love this card. Shoot generally the 2 biggest creatures in play and destroy 2 non-basic lands. Someone would have definitely blown up that Cabal Stronghold, and the mono black player would have had such a harder time after that if that goes down. So just an amazing, amazing card. Another piece of removal, because this deck wants to cough a lot of things into play, we want to be a little bit wary about, just your typical Blasphemous Act, and I'd probably still add a Blasphemous Act anyway if it were my deck, but I get why you wouldn't necessarily want to do that. So in that case, I'm going to add an Aetherize, because if you like Ether Spouts, Aetherize is more or less the same thing, and it's actually a mana cheaper, so it's gonna stop someone from trying to attack into you and just cause headaches for them, tempo blowouts, and stuff like that. Oh, what else? Probably a Vandal Blast in the deck, honestly. Actually, here's a question. How many artifacts and enchantments are actually in this deck? The thing is, too, with Temur especially, and just green in general, you can get a lot of removal from your creatures, so that's another thing you can focus on, too, if you want to keep your creature count really high. And, I know that they're super boring, but they're just so good. The things that come to mind are going to be Woodfall Primus and Terastodon. And I know they're just overplayed, and they're overplayed and annoying and all the stuff, but I looked them up. They're both pretty cheap. I think Woodfall was $3 or $4, and Terastodon was like $1 maybe. So nice and cheap. Like you said, everything was on a budget, so trying to keep everything nice and cheap as far as these changes go. Kamal actually performed a little bit better than I was expecting. It gives you a reasonable mana sink late in the game. It's a little bit awkward trying to figure out the amount of lands and amount of things you need to do to get all the damage right. But I was reasonably surprised. It was a very decent late game option. It's probably maybe a little underwhelming in the early game, but I think it's all right. One card that I wasn't impressed with was Arcanus. I mean, we activated Arcanus one time. A second activation, we probably win the game several turns sooner, or if our card draw cards are working right. But yeah, definitely wasn't super impressed with Arcanus. We drew 3 cards. You can play Harmonize, and it's much cheaper and harder to interact with and faster than an Arcanus, and we would have gotten the same job done. I get that it combos a little bit with Freed from the Real, but is that really the plan that you're going to go on? Because I assume that you want Freed from the Real on something that's going to give you infinite or near infinite mana to really fire up those big X spells, so I don't think that you're doing that for the card draw. I'd probably cut Arcanus. This Dragon Whisperer just doesn't seem like it's doing that much for me. It's got fire breathing. You can give it flying. It seems fine. Is that really what you want to be doing? 6 to make a 4/4. If you have absurd amounts of mana and nothing to do, it's okay. But that is a lot of mana to be sinking into one dragon. So Dragon Whisperer not doing that much for me. Another one that I wasn't super impressed with was this 1,000 Winds. 7 mana to flip it up is a lot. And I've played Sunblast Angel over the years, and for some reason, they're just there are things you need to get rid of that don't tap. We saw the Aurelia with Vigilance, we saw the other small thing with Vigilance. Hauntify Tower we could have gotten a couple times, but 7 mana is so much to leave up. That's why I like Aetherize more in that spot. I'm going to try to leave it if I can, just because it gives you more interaction. You don't have to die to combat damage. Having more options for that is going to be better than having less. Progenitor Mimic is an interesting card. Most of the times I've ever seen Progenitor Mimic, it makes 1 or 2 copies of something and then the board gets blown up. I rarely ever see it stick around past maybe a 3rd turn. I'm not saying it's a bad card. It never seems to do as much as you really want it to, at least in my experience, especially if you're playing in a meta that's got a lot of removal, a lot of interaction. You could think about cutting Progenitor Mimic, just because it is slow. You're probably better off with just your 4 mana clone effects, because you're going to get that. It's going to be cheaper, it's going to be quicker, that sort of thing. So, it was fine, we copied the Baleful Strix, but, it never seems to stick around, in my opinion. So, again, that'll kind of come down to some meta stuff. One card that I actually really wanted to see is Praetor's Council. The deck generates the mana for it, so we had a lot of things that got blown up throughout the course of the game, things that we lost. So if you can get a Praetor's Council into the deck, it's about $350, so not terribly expensive. That'll give you a good option if the game really goes on for a long time, kind of like we saw there. Where just everyone's low on everything. If you land a Praetor's Council at that point in the game, then you probably just win because you have so many things and everyone else is low on cards. We're at 102. What are we getting rid of? I'm not sure what this Metamorphic Alteration does. Potentially a card worth cutting, but I don't understand what its purpose is. I guess if it's turning one of your small things into something big, maybe it's reasonable. We didn't get a chance to really use it, so it's hard for me to evaluate, but it wasn't crazy. I guess at the time that we saw it fairly early in the game. It didn't make sense for us, but later in the game, if we copy an Aurelia and have a creature, then life's going to be pretty good. Throes of Chaos. weird card. Seems fun, doesn't seem overly efficient. Essentially what you're talking about at this point is basically discarding a land, paying 4, and getting one of these things. It's essentially card advantage. It's another card advantage tool. I'm probably, yeah, I think I'm going to get rid of that. I don't know. Like, it seems like a fun card, but it seems like you're really, wildly, like, hit and miss with that sometimes. So, one thing you may be interested in is you have cards like Overgrowth. Wild Growth is much less fragile than a lot of the mana dorks. So that may be something that to think about. We've increased the mana curve a little bit at the 8 slot. We added Terracodon, Woodfall Primus, and Praetor's Council. And I think that means that we need to get rid of a couple things from the 6 slot because I don't want to mess up the mana curve too much. Yeah, 1,000 Winds isn't doing much for me. I think I'm going to get rid of that one. That's 7 mana is so much to flip that thing up. Even if you're making a lot of mana, that's still just a really big commitment when, again, similar effects to protect yourself, Ether Spouts, Ether Eyes, that sort of thing. You can use like a Thaumatic Compass also, and I may add that too. That'll make sure that you're hitting all your land drops. So we'll get rid of that. Again, the Progenitor Mimic is slow. We saw the Niv Mizzet do some work. When you have a lot of mana late in the game, you can shoot down a lot of things. That's pretty cool. Elvish Aberration. Is that really what you want to be doing with 6 mana? That's my question. You have so many other ramp options available. I guess it has Forest Cycling, which is reasonable. But you have so many other options available to ramp in the deck that, like, is that the 6 mana play you want to make? I think you'd really want something more impactful than that. So I'm going to cut that. Tomorrow is a cool card. I actually like that one, especially with all the card draw tricks in the deck. Some of this other stuff we'll leave as it is. So that puts us back to 99. What else did I want to see in the deck? The thing I wanted to see in the deck is going to be a Blackblade Reforged. Because we had quite a few lands, and this deck can generate mana. It has ways to draw lands and get lands into play. I think I just wanted to see a Blackblade Reforged, and, if you put that on your commander or some other creature, it's just going to get huge. It can turn any of your creatures into a nice threat, so I think that's a nice little option to have, honestly, as simple as it is. Galta may be something to think about. I'm not going to add it right here, but it's a big creature that, the more creatures you have in play, the cheaper it's going to get. So if only your commander's in play, it's 6 mana. So, for a 12/12 trample, not too bad. If you have more than that, it's going to get even cheaper. So many times a Galta gets cast for green. So Galta's about $4. Definitely something worth thinking about. I think with all the untapped land cards you have in the deck, I think a Wild Growth is actually just going to be a really good idea. You could also look at like Weirding Wood also. That tends to show up in these decks sometimes too. So there's Wild Growth. Weirding Wood will allow a land to add 2 mana. It's not quite as good as Overgrowth, but it's a card. You could either go like Weirding Wood, or you could go, what's the other one, like Trace of Abundance? No, that one's Naya. That one doesn't work. The Cold Eye Selkie was really unimpressive. That might be a meta consideration. I guess if you said it's a counterspell meta, everyone's playing blue, it's unblockable because of the Island Walk, so that's probably why it's in there, I'm guessing. But as a 1/1, like, we saw it die the one time and we never actually recast it. As a card draw option, like, it's fine. I guess its one saving grace is that by itself, it's generally not strong enough that anyone's going to want to shoot it. But you could easily just think about something like a Harmonize, which will draw you more cards faster than the Selkie will. So, maybe with the Blackblade Reforged looks a little bit better. But so let's get rid of the Selkie. Get rid of the Selkie. I mean, it's essentially a card draw card, but like not an amazing one. How many cards do you actually expect to draw with it in the course of a game is my question. And, that's assuming it comes down turn 3. What if it comes down on turn 10? Like, how many chances do you actually get to draw with it? So let's ditch that. And in place of it, we're going to add a Rishkar's Expertise. Rishkar's is just insane. That's going to draw you a bunch of cards. If your commander's in play, draw 6 cards, cast 1 for free. Yeah, it is an absurd amount of card draw. And there's one more card that I think that would add that's a few dollars. But if it is a really counterspell heavy kind of meta, and it's not a card that you need for everything, but if you're playing against a lot of counterspells all the time, that's going to be Conqueror's Flail. I looked it up. I think it's about $4. And as long as it's equipped to a creature, opponents can't cast spells during your turn, so it shuts off counterspells. And that's a really big deal. So you may want to look at one of those. And, I mean, it doesn't matter what you put it on. Just throw it on any of your little creatures. Put it on your commander later as it becomes relevant. But, just get that on one of your early mana dorks. Then you'll shut off the counterspells and you'll really just kind of do whatever you want. And especially you start laying down some of these bigger things. So, also, I'm taking a look at EDH Rec right now. And I'm just kind of looking at your creature options. There are probably some better creatures that are available that are going to give you, like, more board control and just more abilities and stuff like that. And best of all, they're all super cheap. So Okay, so here's some of the top creatures that, here's some really interesting creatures for your deck that are all super cheap. Savage Ventmaw, average price about 25 cents, came in the Dragon's deck. Whenever it attacks, it's going to give you a bunch of mana. It's pretty sweet. A lot of things you can do with 6 mana in your second main phase. Another one that I think is going to be really good in this deck is Soul of the Harvest. Price is about $1.25. And you've got around 30 creatures in the deck, so you're going to be drawing a lot with Soul of the Harvest. Just more card draw. It's a big 6/6 trample. Just a nice card to have. Another card you could look at is a Somberwald Sage. You can add 3 mana of any color, but only for creature spells. So, we've got a handful of big creatures in the deck. We'll get us into those nice and quick. I wasn't terribly impressed with Jing Yangu. I guess we didn't get to use it most of the game. Okay, so I'm looking at the EDH rec page right now, and there's a lot of really cool things that you can get on a super cheap budget. So I'm going to get rid of a bunch of your 6 drops right now, because I think that there's cooler things we can get for very low cost that I think you're going to like in this deck a lot. Ditch the Progenitor Mimic, ditch the Sphinx. We're going to get a Nezelhal. Nice old 7/7. Will draw you a bunch of cards. Also, you can use more 7 drops in the deck. We probably need to move a 6 drop or 2 over to the 7 slot. As cool as Kamal was, it is really mana intense, so I think I'm going to ditch Kamal. If you're playing against blue decks, here is the card that just decimates blue decks, because they tend not to have a lot of stuff in play, and they tend to do a lot of things in their hand at instant speed. That's going to be none other than Surrak Dragonclaw. You've got 30 creatures in your deck, so 70 cards in your deck do not care about Surrak Dragonclaw. That's going to be your lands and your creatures, so yeah, Surrak Dragonclaw just decimates blue decks. I'm going to get rid of the Planeswalkers. The Planeswalkers are fine, honestly. At this point, I'm just trying to get back down to 100 cards. But the Planeswalkers are doing okay things, but its effects you can get other places. It's cool that you have the cards that find the Planeswalkers, and that does generate inherent value. But now that we've got like Nezelhal, which just draws cards on its own, I think we can get rid of Mu Yangling. Jing Yangu, I mean, essentially it's an overrun effect. We added the Blackblade Reforged, just dump that onto a creature. The thing with Planeswalkers, they do get attacked. People will try to remove them. So just get rid of those. Get rid of the Journey for the Elixir. That brings us down to 101. I'm going to add in the Somberwald Sage. Whisper of the Wilds doesn't do as much for me. It's a dork that is probably going to get blown up at some point. Things like Gyre Sage, things like Karamitra's Acolyte, they're dorks, but they generate absurd amounts of mana. The ceiling on Whisper of the Wilds is 2. So I don't care so much for that one. Still at 101, what can we cut? Oh, a card you probably want, because of all the mana dorks, Shamanic Revelation. I'm going to subtract card draw from a few places and add it in some other ways. So Shamanic Revelation is really good, and Rush of Knowledge is another good one. Another card's about 25 cents, so I think that one will be really, really good for you, because now we've got big creatures in the deck. Even if it's just your commander, if you're drawing 5, that's still really good. It's a really good rate. We do need to cut some stuff now. What can we get rid of? Keru Spell Snatcher. Oh man, I get it. Like, it's a morph, it can't be countered. Once you cast your commander, your creatures can't be countered anyway, so, as long as your commander stays in play, then shouldn't be too bad. So it may require like a slight change in play style where you need to get your commander in before a number of things, but yeah, I mean that morph ability is just so expensive to leave up, so I'm gonna get rid of that. So I mean, like, honestly, with the morphs, like, at this point you're probably better off with Kadena, because you can play all your morphs for free, literally. So that's probably where I would put all your morphs at this point. And for this deck, let's get rid of that one. And I can draw you cards. I like that. This one I'm actually okay with because it's cheap to flip up, so I'm all right with that. Plus it counters a spell, which is super relevant. Oh, another direction you could go also with this deck that I didn't focus on right here, but it's a thing you could think about, is putting all of the Niv Mizzets and then putting all the Curiosities in, was it Keen Sense is the other one? There's like 3-ish Curiosities in blue, and then there's Keen Sense, so that's a thing that you could do if you wanted more redundancy, if you wanted the combo there as well, so that way you have the infinite mana thing, or you have the draw your library and shoot everything. Now, you have to be a little bit careful with that, because you do draw your library out, and your opponents need to have less life than the amount of cards in your library. Another card that wouldn't be terrible either is the, what's that card? Frontier Siege? Is that the one? Yeah, Frontier Siege. Frontier Siege primarily on cons. It's going to give you a lot more mana. 2 in each main phase, and you can do a lot with that. Signal the Clans was okay. It wasn't blowing me away. I get it, tutors are expensive. Yeah, tutors are kind of expensive. But the thing that we've done, you've got the planar bridge. So my problem with Signal the Clans is it doesn't necessarily get you the thing that you're looking for, which is a thing that I don't love. I'm gonna cut Signal the Clans just so we can get back down to 100. We're at 100 right now. Need to cut one more thing. What are we getting rid of? Tidespout Tyrant, like, as good as it is, this deck doesn't have the number of cheap things that I would necessarily want. Like, I know it's super annoying once it's into play, and especially if it sticks, but yeah, typically you want a lot of like 1 and 2 mana spells. By that point, you've probably cast most of them, because most of them in this deck are ramp spells. So I think I'm going to ditch Tidespout Tyrant. I know it's a really good card. One other card that I didn't get the chance to add, gives you a bit more board control, is going to be Dracuseth. Again, another cheap card. The other one you could use is Inferno Titan. Dracuseth just a bit slower. The difference between 6 and 7 can be sizable at times, plus 7 mana and waiting to untap can be pretty big as well. Getting a Lightning Greaves into this deck is probably a really good idea. Let's see if we can make room for that. I don't know, we're probably... Okay, I'm going to cut the Weirding Wood, even though Weirding Wood is probably very good for this deck because of all the... No, we should keep Weirding Wood. What are we getting rid of? Alright. We should keep Weirding Wood. You know what? We'll get rid of... Wild Growth makes 2 mana. Weirding Wood makes 2... Yeah, get rid of Weirding Wood. Wild Growth makes 2 mana. It doesn't investigate, but get rid of that. We're going to add a Thaumatic Compass. That'll give you more protection against attacking. And it gives you something to do with mana in the early game, which I like also. This deck could probably use 1 or 2 more activated abilities in the deck. We did cut a lot of them. And we'll add a Dracuseth in because we could use another 7-drop, and it gives great board control. That means we do need to pull something else out. Weaver of Currents, yeah, for the same reason that we got rid of the Whisperer of the Wild. I'm gonna get rid of the Weaver of Currents. It's fragile, and it still only makes 2. It's colorless, especially, where Somberwald Sage is gonna give us 3. You know, it's only on creatures, but it's also colored. And one thing I did notice that's missing here, too, is Cultivate and Kodama's Reach. Both of those are really good. You'd have to figure out which ramp stuff you want to cut to get to them. Another thing to think about, too, is you have a Hull Breach here, and it was a little bit awkward with that Sword of Fire and Ice. You might want to go for a Nature's Claim if you really need the instant speed ability to blow something up. Depending on what kind of stuff is going on in your meta. If it's very combo heavy, you may need instant speed instead of 2 targets at sorcery speed. So just something to think about there. I wouldn't mind a little more artifact and enchantment removal in the deck as well. I guess we did add Woodfall Primus and Terrastodon. That does give us some answers against things. But yeah, so those are some changes that I would make to the deck. Really changed around the top end of the creatures a little bit. What I'll do is I'll post a list of these, and I'll post a list of these on MTG Goldfish, and you can kind of check out the prices and see which ones you really think you need and you really want to slot into the deck. I would guess that the total cost of all the changes that I mentioned at this point is probably around $50, not exactly sure. So making every single change may not work, but you can really kind of pick and choose to see which ones you want best and work on a budget. One more thing that I would look at too is just upgrading the mana base a bit. It was a bit awkward with like mostly basics. Rootbound Crag is about $3. Might look at adding one of those. Comes in on tap, which is really nice, so probably add a Rootbound Crag. You can discard a basic here. Looks like you've got all the Ravnica bounce lands. Those are good, especially with all the land on tap effects. What else can we get on a budget? Cinderglade's another one that I really like, about $1.75. Can come in untapped quite a bit, especially with all the basic lands you have. Sulphur Falls is about $2. Probably add that one. Hinterland Harbor is about $5. So again, depending on what the budget looks like, maybe not. But you know, even adding just a couple more duels to the deck should really cut down on color issues. Because one thing I noticed is that it does make it awkward, especially if you start seeing a lot of your colorless lands. At points, we didn't have all the colors we needed, especially, you know, trying to activate Kamal and trying to activate Niv Mizzet. You know, and a Chromatic Lantern wouldn't be the worst idea ever either, just to make sure you can always have the color you need. But anyway, yeah, I'll post a link to some of the changes that I posted. You can take a look through it, see what's in the budget, see which changes you want to adopt. I think this will really kind of make the deck a lot more focused in the direction that it wants to go. Personally, I'd still like to add more removal to it, but then we got to really start looking at making some hard cuts. So that's where I might explore a lot of the creature-based removal options. We added a Dracuseth, maybe looking at an Inferno Titan is another good one. Another good thing too, if you're playing in a pretty strong meta, is stealing your opponent's stuff. Something as simple as like a mind control or a control magic. That sort of stuff can really do a lot against your opponents because you're probably stealing their commander's gone, or if they have a Consecrated Sphinx, you're stealing that, and now they have to deal with it just to try to get their thing back. It's a really big headache for your opponents, so, maybe looking at some steal effects as well could really pump the deck up power-wise. But anyway, yeah, that's some of the changes I would make to the deck. You may need to balance things out a little bit because I did add a bunch more at the top end here. I'm hoping I didn't add too much, and that's kind of one of those things you just got to feel out. Depends on how long your games go also. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.